That's all. Okay, like I was saying, this is what we do here. We read papers. We read the paper Pregnancy is a Disease, the normative approach, and this is the response paper, No, pregnancy is not a disease. So if you want to check what happened last episode at Philosophy Roulette 544, I'll put the link in, like, I don't know, chat or something for if it is up on YouTube. But as always, feel free to ask me questions along the way. It's my first time reading it, and then we rate this paper at the end of, this. Well, he wouldn't even have to pass go first. He will collect money. I can guarantee you he'll collect money, though, Valpo. So he would... So Trump, that's all he does is, like, grift for money. And so he does... Yeah, that's what he does. So he will collect the $200 for passing go. But yeah, here we go. So as always, ask me questions. I'll try to explain them as best I can, and then we rate them at the end, and we'll see how clever this response paper was. I rated that the last paper, like it was a mid paper. It was okay. It had some good things, had some bad things. I don't think they made their like case in the end, but you know what? It's like they did a pretty good job outlining the case that like they did an okay job arguing for their point. They had some shortfalls, but it was okay. All right, so let's see what these people, how they respond. Problems for dysfunction accounts of disease. When arguing that we should consider pregnancy a disease, Smador and Rasanen, and I apologize how I say your names, I only know dumb American English, consider 5 accounts of disease. This includes dysfunction accounts. Regarding dysfunction accounts of disease, the authors claim dysfunction, understood as, quote, something that deviates from the way an organism is supposed to be, is a necessary aspect of what we view as disease, end quote. Pregnancy does not involve any dysfunction in this sense. Pregnant individuals do not deviate from how they are supposed to be. Okay, so I'm already suspicious of this response. The idea that you can claim that you know how people are supposed to be presupposes a fucking shit ton about how people are supposed to be. What definition do you have that guarantees that women are supposed to be pregnant and this is how they're supposed to be? Like, yes, we need our species to propagate, but what actually is this? Like, I don't know. Like, how is that we are supposed to be that way? Is this just an evolutionary argument? Is that what you've got here? Maybe that is, but yeah. Okay, so pregnant individuals do not deviate from how they're supposed to be, hence pregnancy is not a disease. QED, right here. We're done. Like, that's it. What is that? What symbol is that? It's like a something. Yeah. I'm just confused at why anyone think pregnancy is a disease. Oh, that was the previous episode. That we read that. Pregnancy fucks your body up really bad. So, like, diseases that, you have something in your body and it fucks your body up really bad, those are considered bad and those are diseases. So they use the example of measles. You get like a measles virus in it, you get measles and it fucks you up. Like, you get pregnant, it really fucks up people's bodies. Like, pregnancy is dangerous. It is. And so, and then just like measles, you can get over the measles. You have your kid, you are over your pregnancy. And so they were saying, look, we should treat pregnancy as more of a disease model. Not that we should not get pregnant, like no one should be pregnant, like no humans should get pregnant anymore. But we should treat it as more of a disease model. And because most of the medical treatment surrounding pregnant women is not that far off from, like, medical treatment for like disease. And so they had a problem at the end that, of course, well, people want to get pregnant. You need to get pregnant, like, to propagate the species or whatever. But, those arguments are actually not super strong. So they didn't make it that pregnancy is a disease. They basically argued that it might not be so bad to treat pregnancy as if it were a disease, which is not the same. So they don't think it is, but treating it as if it were. Okay. So, authors, let me know if that made sense. Pregnant individuals do not deviate from how they are supposed to be, hence pregnancy is not a disease. So, I mean, QED, like, this is not an argument, by the way. The fact that they just said this here is, like, already making me very worried about the future of this paper, because maybe they're just stating their position, but, like, it's like, hey, we take the opposite position than you, and so you're wrong. Well, okay, like, that's nice that you disagree, but that's not an argument. Okay, if dysfunction accounts do not imply that pregnancy is a disease, then Smador and Vasanen must argue that they face some unsurmountable problems. The authors raise three interrelated problems for dysfunction accounts: the elitist, knowledge, and the is-ought problems, respectively. First, the elitist problem. If something can be dysfunctional, then it has a proper function. Wait, did someone... One sec. Yeah, well, we have problems with rain here, so there's a good chance people are freaking out because it's raining, but it's not raining that hard. It's just thundering. Sorry. Okay, sorry about that. First, the elitist problem. I am talking. Okay. First, the elitist problem. If something can be dysfunctional, then it has a proper function. Yet some pregnant individuals regard pregnancy as horrible, negative experience. The dysfunction account seemingly implies that this assessment is incorrect. As Smador and Vasanen argue, this judgment that pregnancy involves functioning well occurs at a far removed level from the lived experience of the sufferer, and so dysfunction accounts are fundamentally elitist. Yeah, so some people don't want to be pregnant, and people be like, well, you are supposed to be pregnant, but that's an elitist thing. You're telling other people how they should be living their lives. Not everyone wants to be pregnant, so there you go. DCI says they're not actually thinking pregnancy as a disease or saying pregnancy fits the parameters for how diseases are classified as diseases. Yes, but the problem is then they're saying it is a disease. If it quacks like a duck and looks like a duck, then it's a duck. And so they're saying, well, pregnancy quacks like a disease and looks like a disease, so it's a disease. But like I said, I think what they're saying is that it should be treated more medically like a disease than something else, because... Well, I mean, there are reasons for that, because, women's care, the way they are treated is maybe not the best way. When women are treated more like disease-oriented, then they have more say in their own care. When it's pregnancy-oriented, then people jump on like, oh, the baby, save the baby. And you get people like saying, well, the mother's opinion doesn't count as much. So I think these people are fighting, Smador and Vasanen are pushing for more autonomy on the mother's side. Okay. So this first one, the elitist, is don't tell people that being pregnant is good. For them, it may not be good. Like on those individual cases. Puberty, growth pains are equally diseases by their method. Yeah. But again, there's lots of stuff that might be classified in different ways. So... Okay, second, the knowledge problem. Since Smador and Vasanen write, the question of what constitutes good functioning is not obviously one that we can divine simply from observing behavior of an organism or studying biology. Yeah, we don't know what good functioning is. We don't. If dysfunction accounts require that we know how organisms should function, then how can we discover this information? We can study how organisms do function, but this does not reveal how they should function. All right, third, the is-ought problem. Dysfunction accounts supposedly derive an ought from an is, in that the experts observe the phenomena in question, theorizes, and then makes his pronouncement as how the organism should behave. Yet, this leap from the descriptive to the normative is enormously problematic. Worse, the concept of proper functioning may depend on a belief in a designer. But most educated people purportedly know that we are not the product of a loving, careful, intelligent designer, so whether dysfunction accounts are grounded in teleology, which require leaping from is claims to ought claims, or theism, the meta-ethical basis of dysfunction account faces serious problems. It's topics like this that give philosophy a bad name. Is breathing bad? Should taking a shit be considered an ecological crime? Yeah, I know that this is one of the reasons people hate philosophy, is like it seems like this is a stupid thing. But again, like I said, their end reasoning was that we need to treat it more like we treat disease models in medicine than we currently do. That is not a crazy claim. And so they basically made an incendiary kind of over the top argument, but their end claim isn't that crazy. So you can see the strategy. You say something crazy, but then what you're really trying to do is get people over to your side, which isn't so crazy. So it's not, but it's a wanky way to say it. Yeah, but it got attention. That's obviously, well, not obviously, but I assume that was part of their goal, was to get attention. And so they got attention, and, maybe they won a few people over. A few. Systematic says, medicine is a craft that treats things other than disease. Yes, of course. But they want it to be treated more like a disease than not. All right, now it is raining very hard. All right. Authors say these problems are interrelated. The is-ought problem says we cannot infer how organisms should function from information about how they do function. If so, then the knowledge problem arises. How can we know anything about how organisms should function? Thus, the is-ought problem is a more basic concern than the knowledge problem. What was the knowledge one? We have the elitist one here. The first, the elitist, and then the knowledge one is what constitutes good questioning. Okay, good functioning. That was this one right here. So yeah, so if you can figure out how to get from like is-ought, then you also get to figure out, how you should know how it should function. Systematic says illness, anxiety about illness, concerns about hair loss, latest info on how fat it should be. All of that is not a disease. Yeah, but there's different models on how things are dealt with. And so the authors wanted to push the discussion on pregnancy closer to the disease-style treatment. And I think that's what their goal was to push the discussion in that direction. Not to say it's like full stop a disease, but that's how we should be treating it. It's more like diseases than other things. I think I'm being charitable. Okay. Defending dysfunction accounts of disease. In defense of dysfunction accounts, we must first distinguish between the function of an organism and the function of its organs. What? All right. Well, I'll just have to keep going. I don't know what the point is of that. That organs have a proper function, heart pumps blood, kidneys produce urine, etc., does not mean that organisms have a proper function. Nor does the fact that organs have a proper function imply that human organisms should act in certain ways. For example, that reproductive organs have a proper function does not imply that humans should have children. Rather, how an organ should function is linked to the kind of thing it is. What? Like, I think this is a bad argument. I'm sorry. I'm just angry at the moment. Like, I know what they are saying. It's not confusing. I'm just angry. Hearts and kidneys, for instance, are different kinds of organs. Each contributes to an organism's survival in distinct ways. Reproductive organs, in turn, enable an organism to reproduce. So when Smador and Rosanen take dysfunction to refer to something that deviates from the way an organism is supposed to be, this is a mistake. Instead, dysfunction involves the failure of some part of the organism to be capable of performing its biological function. How an organism is supposed to be is another matter entirely. Really? Why? I mean, this is just a matter of perspective. Sharpening your knife, there you go. This is just a matter of perspective. If you're looking at the organism level, okay. If you're looking at the organ level, okay. But they're still both how a thing is supposed to be in its environment. What is the organ doing in the environment of the organism? What's the organism doing in the environment of, like, it's like ecology and, wherever it's living and who it lives with, things like that. So of course there's different things, but what the kind of thing it is, it's like, I'm not sure that what they just said, they're trying to make, I fear, like a false, like a dichotomy here. When you're just sort of saying, hey, look, well, the organs are different from the organism, sure, but the saying that there's proper functioning, that, I'm like, yeah, that's just proper functioning. Okay, so author says, pregnancy does not involve the dysfunction of any reproductive organs. So, yeah, of course not. I mean, but it may fuck up the body in other ways, so. Some pregnancies can become dysfunctional. Ectopic pregnancies, for example, involve embryos embedded somewhere other than where they should. And anembryonic pregnancies include cases in which genetic anomalies arrest the development of embryos. In the former case, it is not pregnancy but the location of implantation that generates dysfunction in the reproductive process. Yeah. In the latter case, dysfunction occurs within the embryo itself. Pregnancy is not implicated in either case. So if the pregnancy can be dysfunctional, pregnancy in and of itself does not involve dysfunction. Hence, pregnancy is not a disease. This is cherry picking. This is all this is. It says, well, look, we're going to say where it is, where the embryo embeds is not part of pregnancy. That's something else. They just, this is they're saying, this is what's it called? They are picking and choosing which phenomena they count as the proper pregnancy. If all pregnancies were exactly the same, all of them worked out exactly the same, it'd be one thing. But like they're picking and choosing what counts as like proper pregnancy here. Maybe we have some idea what proper pregnancy is, but like they're saying, look, all pregnancies, like the things that are problematic is not the pregnancy as they define it. So they have some version of pregnancy. So they're saying pregnancy is not implicated in this, but that's by definition. They did not argue that pregnancy is not implicated in these diseased cases. This could be an arbitrary distinction they're making. And this is why I was angry earlier, because I knew this is where they were going with this one. So you can say, all right, look, I'm making distinction between a healthy pregnancy and an unhealthy pregnancy, and an unhealthy pregnancy is part of that's obviously bad, but the pregnancy itself is fine. But again, who's classifying what counts as healthy and unhealthy pregnancy and where that ends? No true pregnancy. Yes, exactly. No true Scotsman. So I could not remember the name. Thank you, Valpo. So that's what was going on in this argument. So I think they could, bolster their argument here, but this is very short, and it could fall to the no true Scotsman fallacy. But yeah, pregnancy is a social construct. Some of it is probably, but I mean, there's definitely a biological aspect to it. Yeah, I mean, you still need, like different things happen in people's bodies due to pregnancy. So there's definitely biology going on there. But yeah. That was a joke? Okay. Well, you do better usually. I was wondering if it was a joke, but it wasn't quite good enough. So, I'm blaming you on that one. Yes, according to U.S. politicians. That's correct, Cinesemiotics. If the politicians in the United States are correct, you are accurate. Yeah. No, I know you were kidding. That's such an insidious... yeah. Thank you, Vipers. I was pleased with it. Addressing the elitist problem. The biological aspect is social too. Frequently interesting. Yeah. See, I don't know all these things, actually. I should know more. Okay. So, you could take their word for it on this, that basically... it's not, pregnancy itself is fine, but like there's problems with pregnancy, that's the dysfunction. But yeah, again, how do you make that call? Addressing the elitist problem. Saying nothing is dysfunctional about pregnancy says nothing about the experience of pregnant individuals. If pregnancy is judged to be dreadful, dysfunction accounts say nothing to the contrary. Wakefield's dysfunction account is instructive here. For Wakefield, both dysfunction and harm are necessary conditions for a disease. One can grant that pregnancy is judged by some individuals to be harmful, and so one necessary condition of disease is met, while maintaining that no dysfunction of organs occur. So they need to rely on the previous argument here. So yeah, if you can say that nothing is wrong with the human body, then you're saying, well, no dysfunction occurs, and so there's nothing wrong. And of course, you can be unhappy about things that happen in your life. That's fine, but that's not a disease. Viper says there's definitely a biological aspect of you based on the stiff socks, at least. Yes. So I learned that sperm runs on fructose. Sperm is one of the few things in the body that requires fructose. So you need like high fructose corn syrup. That is terrible for the rest of you, but it does get used up in sperm. I learned that from my buddy at work who studies medicine. Yeah. So that's fructose that's, driving that. So making your socks sticky, I guess. Okay, so pregnancy is not a disease since all necessary conditions are not met. Critically, by granting that pregnancy can be experienced as harmful, there is no need to deny the lived experience of pregnant women. Claiming that reproductive organs have a proper function is no more elitist than claiming that hearts have a proper function. Again, we don't actually have a good definition of the proper function of a heart. We know when it breaks down. I'm not arguing we don't know what it needs to do for a heart attack. But do we have some grandiose view of what a heart does over the course of your life? It pumps blood. Yeah, because if it doesn't pump blood, you're dying. But do we actually understand all the things that is going on in the human body? No. And so I find this, again, above a little too quick. We think we understand the basics of the human body, but the idea that we actually understand the full thing and what's a flourishing life, that goes to the bigger problems in this area. Okay, if someone laments that their heart pumps blood, that is their prerogative, but it does not imply that the heart is malfunctioning. No, but again, maybe the heart does other things too. Now, this is weak on my part, I agree, but again, they needed to rely on their other argument here, that no dysfunction occurs. So, no dysfunction of organs. So, yeah. Okay. Objectors could argue that all distinctions between organs, between kidneys, hearts, etc. are subjective, so then no organs have a proper function. Organs simply do things without rhyme or reason. This would leave medicine in a state of confusion. Medical science is predicted upon the idea that there are distinct organs within the human body and that healthy organs perform their characteristic anatomical and physiological functions well. Dismantling the basis of medical science is a high cost for establishing a claim that pregnancy is a disease. This is, I find, a simplistic view. It's, of course, the heart has to pump blood. But this is a fucking simplistic view. And you're saying, okay, well, it has to do these things. No one's arguing the heart doesn't pump blood. Everyone knows that. The question is, if you're using this shitty version of dysfunction also and saying, well, because the heart pumps blood, and then, well, we know what it does because it pumps blood, and then we have to accept their version of dysfunction here, that's weak. Ooh. What's up, Ivan? How you doing? How's stream? What's going on? The cult is here. Globus, what's going on? How you doing, Globus? How you been? I was lurking earlier over at your place. What's going on? Reading rap, DCI, and it's me, the E. How you doing? Let's give a shout out for the Ivan. What's going on? How is everything going? Hi, everyone coming in from Ivan's place. How is the Bayesian discussions? Thank you for the follow. Is that the yay? And Kensai. I'm Noah. Call me Nogre, Nogre, Noah, Nogreo, whatever. I don't care. Just don't be a jerk about it. I philosophize. Last time we were discussing some people who argued that pregnancy is a disease, and now we're arguing, reading the counter argument, no, pregnancy is not a disease. We talk philosophy here. I do metaphysics, logic, epistemology. So all this weird shit that you probably don't care about, I know way too much about. You talked about quantum chat GPT nanobots. The way that life could suck. What's up? How you doing? Ivan caught himself another nutter. Oh, nice. That's always fun. I mean, sometimes it's good content. A troll every so now and then, not the worst thing in the world. Yeah, how is everything? Hydrocannabinoid. It's a disease for men, not for women. Well, that's what they're saying. These authors here are saying, hey, Unreal, thanks for the subscription. Appreciate it. Yeah, Terrence Howard thinks he proved that 1 times 1 is 2, which is difficult. But your viewer count is up. Hey, that's great. Yeah, like I said, a little bit of fun content, that's awesome. But Aris doesn't try to correct him, so he normally doesn't explode. Yeah. Oh, the fellas have been in Aris' chat. Thank you for the 100 bits.
100 Bayes neural network. Everybody take a shot.
I think the current text-to-speech has been trained with AI, so yeah. Yeah, so yeah, Aris doesn't correct him, so he doesn't explode. Yeah, it happens. Reading maps is one field I would love to get into is the sociology of science. I've never had the opportunity to delve into that field. Philosophy of science and history of science, sure, but sociology of science is like interesting concept. Yeah, it's good stuff. So if you can go look at why and who and how scientists are and they do the things they do, like you find out that like it's not always what you like. It's not all the way people do stuff. And this is just in life in general. The way people do stuff, it's not always what you think they're doing. Like sometimes they're doing one thing and then it turns into something else, and you would not expect it to go that way. Hydra Cannonboy says, yeah, his math is more an acid trip than a breakthrough. Yeah, there's no breakthroughs here. Philosophers have known about this shit forever. People are like, well, 1 times 1 is 2 because it's 2 different things. And it's like, no, dude. If that's not what it means to like have multiplication. If you're going to be doing multiplication, it's 1. Then you understand what multiplying is doing it 1. How many times are you doing it? Once. So you've done 1 thing 1 time. That's it. So you've got 1 thing. Now, and what are you left over? 1 thing. Now, if you want to talk about the description of the mathematics, 1 times 1, well, you were multiplying 1 by something else. Well, what did you do? What did you do? And we're not talking about the multiplication. We're talking about the act of multiplying. Yeah, you've taken 2 numbers and you've multiplied them together. So there's 2 things there. You've multiplied 2 numbers. Sure. But that's not the same thing as multiplication. You're asking about what you were talking about at the time. Oh, man, why my gift sub now not go off? Dag nabbit. But thank you for gifting Unreal. Thank you for gifting Frank. Yeah, so it's like, it's just a use mention style problem. This is like an ancient problem. Everyone has known this, not just Western philosophy, Eastern philosophy, almost everyone who has any competent history in philosophy, they know about these sorts of problems. These are ancient problems that they've discussed, solved, thousands of years ago many times. You can go look at like ancient classical Indian philosophy. They have use mention distinction. They know about this, and they know about it not only as well, like they have like detailed descriptions of like these sorts of things. Very detailed descriptions about how like when you're using words it means what like the use, and then then the meaning mentioning these things is not the same as the use of them. It's like these are not it's ridiculous. They're good problems to talk about, but these are things that have been hashed out for thousands of years. And not just in Western philosophy. Like I said, the classical Indian philosophy has discussions of this. I know Chinese philosophy has discussion of this. I'm sure other people do too. It's like, come on, Terrence. This is one of those, you think you're fucking clever because you're saying something clever, but it's not anything new. Like, we know all this, and you think you're like, oh yeah, you're gonna take on the world. It's like, dude, go read some classical Indian sutras from 2,000 years ago where they discuss this. You can go read up what they said about it, and then you can discuss them if you want, if you think you know something. Oh, yeah, thank you for the hype train. So, yeah. Good job, Terrence Howard. And he's a good actor, but he's not particularly good at philosophy or science or anything like that. Yeah. So what were we talking about anyway? What we're talking about here is, like I said, pregnancy. Should it be treated like a disease? It has many disease-like characteristics. And these people are arguing that pregnancy is not a disease. Now, pregnancy that goes wrong is a disease. The problem here is you can't, who's to say when a pregnancy is going right and going wrong? Yes, we know that, but if you just make that distinction, then you've already sort of begged the question. That's all it is. It's a no true Scotsman. It's not really a pregnancy if it's gone wrong, but you have to already know what a pregnancy is at that point. Thank you for the 500 bits. Yeah. But that Oxford presentation, though, yeah. We're Oxford doing a dinner for schmucks trope. Oh, yeah. So. Yeah. So. Then these, they're trying to argue that we don't actually, they're trying to cut me off here. They argue against this, that all, there is no distinction, that we don't know anything. It's yes, we do know some things, but we don't know the whole thing. It's we can say when does something go wrong? Well, we know when certain things go wrong, but again, who's to say when things are more complicated. Yeah, if it kills you, it went wrong. But that's not even always the case. You can live through, like, certain things kill you, it's okay. But, like, like old age, you die. Like, that's not a problem. But again, we don't have these theories all the way. And so they're saying, well, dismantling medical science because we know when the heart stops, that's bad. Well, yes, but not always. Like, again, it's not that, it's more complicated. He got in the door somehow. Oh, what is this? You still talking about the nutcase? All right. Yeah. So this statement right here, dismantling of the basis of medical science, is a high cost for establishing the claim that pregnancy is a disease. This is too strong a claim. They didn't establish that. That's my point here. It's like, yeah, we know when certain things are wrong. We don't know when everything is wrong, and you're begging the question on that. We understand where everything goes right and goes wrong. All right. Addressing the knowledge problem. Next, how can we know what the proper function of an organ is? Okay, so now they're saying, how do we actually know this? So they're actually relying on something they need up here. They're going to argue for it down here, I guess. How can we know what the proper function of an organ is? For vital organs, the answer seems clear. If vital organs fail to operate in certain ways, this usually leads to a cascade of events that result in an organism's death. So yeah, they're saying, look, if you die, that's it. Hey, Prof, what's up? I'm famous is popping in here. Well, I just got a very big raid from Ivan Neo, which I appreciate. How you doing, Prof? What's going on? So yeah, so if you die, then the organ has gone wrong. Again, how exactly do you know what caused the organ to fail? You're saying the organ failed. What caused the organ to fail? Have you turned gray, Prof? Yeah, he's gone white, I think, in the last few days. About to be bath time. Give a Baby Wayne head patch for me. So, head pats on Baby Wayne. So yeah, should give some more shout outs actually. Depression and no hit running, turning him gray. Yeah. Give not that I really. We raid Prof so many times, I don't really need to shout him out. But yeah, I'll give a Globus in a sec after that. But if you don't know Prof, he is another philosopher, streamer. He plays Souls games and is doing no hits at the moment. So DCI still trying to get the mod skills going. And so, yeah, you can go talk to him about social philosophy, epistemology, like philosophy of music, philosophy of bands, philosophy of stupidity. Like, you want to know what stupid is? Prof knows what stupid is. So, yeah. Prof the White. Yeah. Pseudo mod. Okay, yeah. Quasi mod. Quasimodo mod. So, you can see right here. This sounds like a great sentence. If vital organs fail to operate in certain ways, this usually leads to a cascade of events that result in an organism's death. What caused those vital organs to fail? What actually was it? If the organ fails, what did that? It's real easy to blame the fucking organ, but is that actually the ultimate cause of the organ failure, or was it something else? If you get shot in the head, your heart will stop eventually. Was your heart stopping the thing that led to your death? No, it was that you got shot in the head. That eventually led to the death of your heart stopping. So it's like, okay, is that a failure of the heart that you died because you were shot in the head? No, it was that you got shot in the head. What actually was the cause there? And so the idea that you can focus on organ failure in the outside of everything else is really suspicious. Hey, thank you for the hop train. Yeah. What constitutes X? Thank you, Prof. Hey, Lumpy, what's going on? Yeah. Don't follow me, I agitate philosophers? No! Globus is a good time. We like Globus. Yeah. Lumpy comes in with a blanket, rolls up an Aris in it, and gives him a mug of herbal tea. Sleep tight. Yes. That's awesome. Yeah, a mug of, well, yeah. Cozy stream. We like cozy streams here. Yeah. So, thank you for the hype train. Big old raid. But yeah, this is one. See, this paper unlike the other one, the other paper was actually better argued. This one is more reasonable in the sense of being subjectively plausible. Like this one, like, yes, we all agree that pregnancy is not a disease. The issue here is that I don't like the way they're arguing for it. Don't you think we can infer causal relationships about bodily components? Yes, we can. The problem is they are doing it sort of like in vitro. They're trying to do it like without context. And so you need background information. And so the idea that if you're going to say the heart stopped and that's why you died, well, that's not true if that wasn't the cause. If you died from like a headshot wound, yes, your heart stopped, but that's not why you died. You had no brain anymore. That's what killed you. So, of course, we can infer causal relationships about bodily components. The problem is that's not necessarily the causal story. Or the full causal story, I should say. It's like, yeah. So they're trying to say, well, this was not proper functioning. Why wasn't it proper functioning? Go back one more metaphysical step. What caused the dysfunction? And so, a little weird here, in my opinion. Okay. We learn which functions sustain organisms' lives by observing that they tend to die when the organs function in uncharacteristic ways. Yeah. The proper function of the heart, then, may be as simple as contributing to the organism's survival by circulating oxygenated blood to tissues and organisms. This is just what the hearts should do, otherwise survival will be negatively affected. And I agree with this sort of statement. The problem is, it's very minimal. Like, the heart should be doing that. Again, but if you get shot in the head, it doesn't fucking matter what your heart should be doing. It will eventually stop. But then you say, well, the heart stopped and it wasn't circulating oxygenated blood. Well, that's the wrong story. It's not what causally happened. But like, yeah. It's like, yeah, if the heart wasn't circulating oxygenated blood, you're going to die. It's true. But that's not what the causal story was. Okay, what about reproductive organs? If someone's reproductive organs do not function in certain ways, then sexual reproduction will not occur. What makes reproductive organs reproductive organs is that they enable the species to reproduce. Failing to function in certain ways. Okay, so again, yeah, this is all it comes down to, an evolutionary argument. They enable the species to reproduce. This is the entire argument. We need to have kids so that humanity continues. That's it. All right. Failing to function in certain ways means failing to accomplish that result. How can we discover the proper function of reproductive organs? We observe that when reproductive organs function in certain ways, reproduction typically occurs. When function occurs, when they function otherwise, reproduction does not. This is enough to distinguish proper function from dysfunction, as the end of reproductive organs is to enable reproduction. So yes, I completely agree with this statement. If you are talking about the species to reproduce, then you have to have the reproductive organs working to make more of the species. I agree. This misses the sophisticated argument we were talking about last time. I'll say in a second. Discovering that reproductive organs must function in certain ways to ensure reproduction is no more difficult than discovering that vital organs must function in certain ways to ensure survival. No, not at all. The idea that we're making an evolutionary argument up here, that we have an evolutionary argument here, and then you're going to jump down to a biological, like, functioning argument here about, like, the proper function, teleological argument, that ain't clear at all. Because guess what? Up until, like, 1850 or whatever, when Darwin published on the Origin of Species, there was no evolutionary argument. So this ain't that clear at all. It's a massive jump. Secondly, it only has to work on average for the species. It doesn't have to be healthy in every single case. And so the previous authors that these people are arguing against were trying to be very clever about this. They were trying to say, look, in not all cases should we be treating pregnancy as the typical. Sometimes it can be treated as atypical. This was not a great argument, but they did have a good point. Not everyone needs to have kids. Most people don't have kids. Like, I am a male. I'm not having any fucking kids, like, by myself, all right? Like, I don't have the capacity to, like, have a kid on my own. Like, only women can get pregnant as of right now. So, females, I should say. Get the gender terms right. Should be better about that. Sorry. But Like I can't like gestate a baby at the moment using current medical technology. But not all women need to be doing that. Of course, to young women, like the kids and like postmenopausal women, they also don't. These authors are not understanding that. Not all women can be having babies. Not all women should be having babies because, they're too young or too old. Whatever. Go lay an egg. Exactly, Unreal Brian. And so the idea that we're using an evolutionary argument to say that pregnancy is the correct way, it's like, no, it only has to be correct sometimes. It doesn't have to be correct all the times. And this is one of the, I pointed this out last time, is they had a very, they had a difficult time, like, describing it. It's a Texas sharpshooter style fallacy that they were pointing out. But it's, you can't say that statistical rules have to occur in any individual one. This is like quantum, this is like nuclear radiation. You can't point to any particular nuclear like atom and say this one is going to decay. It won't. You don't know. Some of them will, on average. So for the ones that do, you could say, well, that's when they decay. That's when some women get pregnant. You don't have to say that claim for all of them, and it may never happen for certain ones. So it's like this is this argument here is like, it's clever, but like it's got like this one right here, like this one, they knew about this, and this is not a counter argument to it. Okay, sorry. I'm going to rant about this shit for a while. It's not so easy to argue this one. It's just an evolutionary argument, saying the species have to reproduce, but that doesn't mean anything about any one individual. As long as somebody reproduces, then it's okay, but it may be a disease for everyone else. Okay, addressing the is-ought problem. Regarding the is-ought problem, dysfunction accounts allegedly describe how things are. Different organisms do different things. Next, they infer how an organs should or ought to function. For example, the heart pumps blood, so it should pump blood. This is a leap from is to ought. Smaydor and Vasanen claim is enormously problematic, and authors say, not so. First, concerns about the is-ought distinction usually state we cannot infer a moral ought from is. That is, from descriptive statements like there is poverty in the world, we cannot infer moral statements like we should reduce poverty. The sense of should or ought relevant to dysfunction accounts is non-moral, however. To illustrate, consider the statement, my car should not be leaking oil. I do not mean my car is morally wicked, rather some part of it is defective. You see how weird this argument is being made right here? They said, we don't need teleology, but a car is something we create for a certain purpose. And so we have a specific purpose in mind for cars and how they're supposed to work. And so the idea that we're using they're using an example of something we've made for a specific teleological purpose, then to apply it to people, again, is sort of problematic. They're treating the body like a machine that we understand. We do understand lots about it, but we don't actually have the full understanding of human life. We don't have like the answer to destiny here. And that's where the other folks get their argument in. Okay, with organisms, the reasoning works like this. Yeah, so they're just going to make, congratulations, we're all cars now. Hearts pump blood around the body, and this is how they contribute to survival. To ensure survival, hearts should continue functioning like this. Defective hearts are not morally bad organs. People with defective organs are not morally bad people. Moreover, to say a reproductive organ is dysfunctional, functioning in a way that inhibits or precludes reproduction, makes no claim about someone's character or reproductive choices. Function and dysfunction are non-moral here. I mean, I don't think anyone has a problem with this. And none of this requires positing theism. Unreal says, this is all just going to boil down to how you define disease and why. Yep, I agree. Proper function is rooted in the kind of thing an organism is. As Wakefield puts it, dysfunction is the failure of a person's internal mechanisms to perform their functions as designed by nature. Again, they're assuming we understand what our purpose in nature was. Unreal says, and just about any argument here is going to be motivated. Yeah, this is my problem with this argument. Wakefield, that Wakefield? No, I don't know who this Wakefield is. I don't know. In a way that impinges harmfully on the person's well-being. Now we're finally getting into the Aristotelian shit and the flourishing. Who the fuck understands that? Design does not refer to some deity's plans, but is grounded in the result of evolutionary forces. Who's to say what we are supposed to be doing with our lives? Who's to say what evolution has in store for us? Not so easy. I mean, yeah, you don't want to be dead. All it needs is some people reproducing. The rest of them, who knows? Andrew Wakefield is the guy who did a fake article which ended up convincing a bunch of people to be anti-vax. I doubt it. This is published in a good journal. This is in... Where is this in? This is in the Journal of Medical Ethics. I don't think this they're referencing that Wakefield. As argued above, denying that particular organs have developed to function in particular ways would wreak havoc on medical science. Yeah, again, they're making this they're overstating their argument at the end here. So it's like, they're just like, well, if you think anything goes, that would wreak havoc with medical science. No, it's that they're overstating the end goal of our human life as something that medical science can tell us. That's not true. They only know when, like, you get sick, you have to fix stuff. But what exactly is the problem here? Well, a lot of times in Western medicine, we try to fix the problem. We try to fix, like, the amounts. But, if you didn't get the root cause of the disease, then you fix sort of like, you fix it. Can't speak today. You fixed the symptoms, you didn't fix the disease. And so it's like, well, all right, the heart wasn't properly functioning, but was that because you were eating bad, or you didn't exercise, or there was some other problem? It's like, well, okay, but again, it was like, is this a heart problem or was it something else? It turns into a heart problem, but that's not. Then you're saying, well, okay, the heart wasn't designed to work that way. Yes, but that wasn't the point. That misses the point. If it was like, your poor diet, that's what killed you, not your heart disease. It was that you ate crap. Okay. Second, calling the is-ought distinction enormously problematic is exaggeration. Yeah, I mean, sure, but everyone here is making a lot of big claims. Inferring ought statements from is statements, even regarding the moral sense of ought, is commonplace in bioethical discussions. Oh yeah, I wanted to do one other thing. Shout out. We're going to go piss off everybody by giving... Everyone go follow Globus the Elder. Globus is great. Globus is an old man yelling at clouds. He talks about AI and modern tech and sort of our position and what's happening in the news, and it's a good time. He streams a lot. So, I eat crap, haven't died, ergo immortal. Exactly. So, but we like Globus. He's fun. So, and like I have him on a lot of times and lurk in the background while I'm doing other stuff. So you see him like, playing games or something the other day. But yeah. And the Globus never sleeps. I don't know how he does that. It's kind of impressive. I hope it's okay. I need a lot of sleep. Okay. What was I doing? Second, I'll just reread this because I don't know where it was. Calling the is-ought distinction enormously problematic is an exaggeration. Inferring ought statements from is statements, even regarding moral sense of ought, is commonplace in bioethical discussions. Consider it would be unjust to give vital organs to those who have lived longer. From this, we may infer that giving vital organs on this basis should be avoided. What the fuck? This is already saying would be. This is an ought. What are they talking about here? I don't understand this argument at all, actually. You are good for lurking, yeah. Yeah, so everyone go lurk Globus. That's also a suggestion. The practice, if you can talk, but otherwise lurk. The practice is unjust, as a matter of fact, and so we should not do it. I mean, that's what they just said here. It would be unjust, so it should be, like... Okay, maybe, okay, I'm misreading would be. There, like it is unjust, and so you're referring ought from that is. Okay, one could object by calling something unjust. We build evaluative content into the facts of this case. Well, that's kind of what I'm saying, is you've already done it. Whether this is correct depends on whether things are just or unjust, independent of subjective evaluations. What? How are we going to get any of that in this discussion? That's like, I'm missing something here. We think that some states of affairs really are unjust given the distribution of goods, rights violations, etc. If so, then learning something is unjust implies we ought not do it. Okay, this is weird. This is really weird here. It's because they're assuming that we somehow have access to the truth about what is or is not just, like moral realism, and we have access to this. And so if we learn that there's something actually is unjust, then we ought not do it. Well, of course, but we don't ever have this sort of access to reality. We just have, our discussions about morality and like what we feel and stuff. So weird. If readers disagree, other candidates abound. Hoffman argues that learning facts about disease will inform how we should act. When a person has a condition that falls under the concept of disease, we have a moral impetus to help. They don't understand linguistics at all. Yeah, this writing is problematic. I don't like this. Unreal. Yeah. Learning facts about a witness tells us whether we should believe his testimony. Yeah, this is all very sort of shaky shit. Unreal says, is unjust is an ought statement is just pushing the ought into the copular adjective. Yeah, like that's what tripped me up here. Is like I was reading it as if it was an ought statement, and it's like, well, they meant it as an is statement, and then they were arguing, well, if you didn't think so, it's okay to do it. It's like, no, dude, you guys are just like confusing or conflating the meanings here. So this is this section, and I can't talk today, is problematic. I mean, I get what they're trying to do, that we make these things all the time, but they're making it sound like it's easy, and it isn't. Now, is it enormously problematic? I don't know, but it's still problematic. It's like, I feel like they don't understand all the problems here. Yeah, learning facts about a witness tells us whether we should believe his testimony. Yeah, I mean, sure. So you learn that the witness is a certain way, and then you get to decide on that whether we should believe them. We all know nowadays that eyewitness testimony is super shaky. There's lots of problems with all of this. It's like, yes, that is enormously problematic. Learning that someone has a history of embezzlement provides a reason to think she ought not to be trusted with finances. Not always, sometimes, but yes. It's like, yeah. And so on. For Morrissey Searle, if the is-ought distinction is as rigid as Smajdor and Vasanen claim, then major problems follow not only for dysfunction on accounts of disease, but for ethical deliberation and inquiry in general. Yes, it does. This is the case. There is this problem in ethical deliberation and inquiry in general. This is the case, and you ought to be worried about it. This is an is-ought. It is the case, and therefore you ought to be worried about that. Conclusion. Smajdor and Vasanen argue that plausible accounts of disease imply that pregnancy is a disease. We argued that dysfunction accounts of disease both imply that pregnancy is not a disease and avoid problems raised by Smajdor and Vasanen. This alone undermines their argument, and although it goes beyond the scope of this response, we suspect that the defenders of other accounts of disease can undermine their argument similarly. This could be fixed. It all could be fixed. But it's God, people have to learn how to argue. This is what happens when I get too much sleep. I just be like, what the fuck is with all these arguments? But you know what we get to do now? We get to rate the thing. So, this was not the worst paper, even though I'm ranting about it. This is really not as terrible as I may have made it out to sound. But please, you get to review now. So what you get to do is, we've got all these emotes here. If this gave you some fun ideas, if you thought this was a fun paper, you got a brain dance. If you thought it made some big claims that shrivel up, I guess maybe my claims during what I was saying, that's what I'm going to be giving it nog grapes. So grapes that shrivel up into raisins. Nog navel gazing only for academics. Again, this was directed as a response paper. A lot of times these are kind of navel gazing, but it's up to you if you think so. Ouroboros, deep arrangement ideas. Nog scream for existential artistic drama. Nog turd for all style no substance, still poop underneath. And nog knife slicing and dicing arguments. Globus gave it a grapes. Unreal also gave it a nay. Slicing and dicing in grapes. Yeah, I may be closest to Unreal on this. I may try to also give it I'm thinking I might give it also a meh, but I might be there. Ivan says nay and a bunch of navel gazing. It's just more essentialism about words. Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of their biggest problems here, and Unreal pointed that out. It's just they're using essentialist and what is pregnancy? They say, well, we have a definition of pregnancy. Anything that gets out of it, it's that's not pregnant. This is what the organs essentially do. That's a good way of putting it, essentialism. And anything that gets away from that, that's wrong. But again, that's just, you're defining life in a certain way, but we don't have the overall what is a flourishing life. That's what, our buddy Aris works on, trying to describe this thing. Same problem as in the paper they're critiquing. Yeah, and this is what happens. I guess I think the other paper wasn't as bad about it, but they were still doing it. I agree with you, Ivan. Because the other paper was treating it essentialist, and then they were knocking things down. And then they said, well, it must be this way because all the disagreements. Wow, DCI was like, damn. All right. A lot of not grapes. Because if you use it more, one of the ratings more than once, it counts as again. Like it makes a difference. So yeah, that's a lot of grapes. But okay. So yeah, that's maybe the single worst rated paper ever, actually, because of that amount of grapes. But that's okay. Like I said, they both. Oh yeah, and there's vote yay, vote nay, and vote meh for the global. More cheese with their wine? Yes, DCI. That's right. I'm going to give them a meh. Like, they did their thing, They did their thing. They didn't do it well, but they did do their thing. So they're going to get a meh, some grapes. And I'm with Unreal. They're going to get a nog knife. Because they did do a little bit of slicing and dicing. So, yeah. I mean, I'm with chat on this one. Like, I don't think they completely understood all the arguments against them. They used, as Ivan pointed out, essentialist language, as Unreal Brian pointed out, their language. They didn't really understand some of the claims on is ought. But yeah, so how it goes.